Okay, folks, stand by. You are going to get a look inside the wall and inside the bars of a place of incarceration. Not a pretty sight, but you'll find out because we have a lady who lived there. Pam Siegel, meanwhile, is just simply the person who's tasteful enough to watch the right show on television and answered the question. I said, okay, Buck Owens, his birthday today, famed country singer, guitarist, recording artist, and television personality. He also owned KNIX here for a long time, the country station. Buck Owens was on television for a long, long time with a wacky television series, comedy show, music, with Roy Clark called Hee Haw. Why, it's enough to make you want to go out and buy a pair of boots. Congratulations to you, Pam. You got a Landmo bag. Or, no, you got the Moments Salon. We're just giving away things because we want to buy your affection. Sue Ellen Allen, welcome. Welcome. Particularly welcome because where you were is a place none of us want to be. Why were you in prison?
Everybody wants to know that.
Well, me particularly, because I'm the one who's saying, well, I read the book, and I think probably we should pass that on. You just don't look like an ex-con.
Yeah, I know, but you'd be surprised who's there. Actually, bad business decisions and took me to prison for securities fraud. But I like to tell people first, ex-murderer, serial killer, you know,
yeah.
Killing the Cheerios.
But then they back off
then
at a
they
cocktail
back
party.
off.
They don't bother you anymore.
Well, but
so you were Bernie Madoff with estrogen.
Yes, I suppose. People say Martha Stewart, but...
And you were raised, though, differently than most of the people you were incarcerated
When I
with.
went inside, I knew I was blessed. I had an education. 50% of all inmates going into prison have less than an 8th grade education. And
But that's
really
no
tough.
excuse for committing a crime.
Well, what do you do when you're a 6-year-old girl and your father starts bringing home men for you to service at 6 and you stop counting at 50? What do? How do you even go to school? How do you even build a life? I've met women like that who were locked in the closet by their family and only let out to take care of the little children. I've heard the most horrible stories. I couldn't have believed it. And look, I'm no different from you or anybody else. I didn't want to think about prison. I didn't want to know about prison. And then I became a statistic. And I was horrified.
Changed your life probably more than you ever thought.
Completely.
Particularly now that you reflect back, and you allow us to reflect back with you with the book, The Slumber Party from Hell. Explain the title.
I was in Estrella jail. It was July. It was 115 degrees. The offices are air conditioned, but I could feel the heat going down the hall to the dorm, and they opened the doors and the heat just assaulted me because there's no air conditioning there. And they pointed to a young girl. She looked like she was 16, and she had to be 18 to be there. She was hugely pregnant, and they said, take her to her bunk, her cot. And she made my bed for me the prison way. There's a certain way. And she looked up at me and she said, welcome to the slumber party from hell.
Wow.
And it stuck with me.
The experiences that you had were things that border on horror for most of us. There aren't many things that I'm afraid of, not because I'm courageous, but it just, you know, some people are afraid of clowns and some people are afraid of spiders. That strikes terror into my heart. The idea, it's not claustrophobia in the cell, it's just the idea of being completely without any freedom at all to make a decision. How long does it take to get past that anxiety?
You're in shock for a long time. And a professor at ASU that I'm friends with said he'd heard that an average person makes 6,000 decisions a day and the average inmate makes 600. And then you get out and you feel like you're shot out of a cannon because suddenly you are assaulted with how many choices there are. It's frightening.
Does society just handle all of those things badly?
I've learned that, yes, I think so. Our legislature in the 90s, you can't blame it on this group because it was in the 90s, realized that 50% of all inmates have less than 8th grade education, so they mandated that when you go in, you take an Ames test and you test where you score, and if you score below 8, you have to go to school. And then when you score 8, you get a graduation ceremony and you get a certificate that says, I've passed 8, and you get to go out and get a job making 10 cents an hour. But Pat, what the heck is 8? You can't get out and say, get a job that says you want fries with that. It's not a GED, it's 8. So yes, I think society handles it very badly. And at the cost, Gina died in prison. Her parents sued the state and won, but Gina was in prison as a first offense for a $3,000 theft related to drugs. That cost the state at $25,000 a year, $87,500. Does that make economic sense?
Well, we were talking about, of course, economics yesterday with a professor.
Yeah.
We were talking about economics the day before because of the times that we're in and so on. And you came in today and told our people here on the show that if you want to save some money, do something about that.
Well, we've cut the education budgets, we've cut the healthcare budgets, but we've added to our prison budget. It's now $1 billion in Arizona. And our governor wants to add beds. And I suggest that a lot of people with mental health issues are in prison. A lot. I was stunned. That's where we're putting them. We're not putting them into care, we're putting them into prisons.
Well, we cut back on mental health care.
Exactly. Exactly. It doesn't make economic sense. I think it's cheaper to treat and be proactive. But you know, as a country, we've never been proactive. We're always reactive, aren't we, for everything?
Sure, we wait for the absolute zenith crisis till we're at the edge of the abyss.
Yes, and go, oh!
Right. Oh, by the way, if any of the state legislators happen to be watching, and I know that you do many mornings, we are on the edge of the abyss, okay? So let's try to do something about it. We've got 1 minute in this segment, but I would love to have you stay around because there's so much to talk about involving the book. But when we get back, I want you to introduce us to Gina, and not just what she did to get there and her background and so on. I want you to introduce us to the Gina that you knew and that you have introduced us to dramatically. In the book, The Slumber Party from Hell, the author's name is Sue Ellen Allen, and I bet she remembers her number too, but I'm not going to ask.
I do.
This is Pat McMahon. Stay with us. Sue Ellen Allen, listen, take a close look at the cover of the book again, won't you? It's called The Slumber Party from Hell, and I just want you to notice an unusual portrait for the cover. Explain it. You told us about the title. Now explain this personal up-close portrait.
Well, the orange beanie is because I'd lost all my hair to chemotherapy. I was going through advanced breast cancer, and the glasses are what the girls call birth control glasses because nobody will ever talk to you if you wear those ugly glasses. But you know, in the movie The Queen, Helen Mirren wears those glasses, so I didn't feel so bad.
Now she's doing okay,
Yeah.
and half of your mouth made up.
Well, this is now. This is me now with, oh my gosh, I've got my hair color and my contacts back. Makeup and hair color are a wonderful thing.
Gina.
Oh, Gina.
You met so many people, prisoners, guards, administrators.
Everyone.
You met so many people in so many different walks of life, but Gina's the one that had the biggest impact on you.
Gina was 25 years old. I was 57. Gina was supposed to live. I was supposed to die. I had advanced breast cancer. She was a healthy young girl. Why did I live and why did she die? And I realized that I lived to tell about it. But Gina was a star. She had, at 15, she was from a nice family. They live in Mesa. Dad works for the city. Really lovely family. Italian family that plays board games and goes to all the soccer matches and does all of that stuff. And here's Gina at 15, her hormones start raging and she goes boy crazy. And you know, Pat, I think 85% of the women in prison, maybe 90%, are there because of poor choices in men. No offense to the male population.
No, absolutely.
But,
there's no question about it.
you know, the man says, "Yeah, I love you, baby," and come on, you know, you want to rob this bank or whatever.
Yeah, and then
do
she
the drugs.
winds up taking him home from a bar and then leaving the child with the guy while she goes to work, and then the child dies from abuse, and we see that story all too many times.
Or the men encourage them to go into dancing. The girls call it dancing. It's
Yeah,
actually stripping.
Yeah, well, Gina did that.
Gina did that. She absolutely did that. But she was turning her life around. When she moved in with me, she moved in to take care of me because I was getting ready to start chemo, and I knew I was going to be really sick.
When did you find out that you had breast cancer?
Before I went into prison. I was diagnosed. I had already started the chemo.
Did you ever stop and say, God, listen, I'm not even sure whether you're a religious person, but somewhere along the line, particularly if you've got breast cancer and you're going to prison, you say, I'm sorry for all of the mistakes that I made, but is this a little bit excessive?
No. You know, people used to say, Sue Ellen, why you? You never smoked, you didn't drink, why you? And I said, why not me? 1 in 8 women have breast cancer.
So Gina was taking care of you?
Gina was going to take care of me, and one day she collapsed. And they took her to medical, and medical said, yeah, come back in 2 weeks, and if you're still sick, we'll believe you. She was 25, she was healthy. Then she said, my head feels like it's going to explode off my body. And they said, you have migraines, take ibuprofen. She said, my gums and my teeth, my mouth, my ears are bleeding. And they said, you have gingivitis, brush your teeth. And she said, my throat feels like I'm swallowing ground glass and I can't even swallow Jell-O. And they said, here, you have strep throat, here's some antibiotics. But they wouldn't give her a blood test. And her parents called and begged for a blood test. And they said, she doesn't need a blood test. We know what's wrong with her. And she had acute myeloid leukemia. And when they finally took her to the hospital, she went in and went into a coma, and in 36 hours she was dead.
What's Gina's team?
Gina's team is something her parents and I started because I coined a little phrase, education, not incarceration, is the cheapest form of crime prevention. And I know that for a fact. Actually, statistics back me up, that if you have high school education, your recidivism is lower. If you have 2 years, recidivism goes down. If you have 4-year education, it's way down. I'm an anomaly because as a college-educated person, there are very few in prison. But I was at the prison last night teaching a class on leadership, actually Athena Leadership, which is designed by a woman named Martha Mertz, who founded Athena Leadership 28 years ago, and Martha and I were there teaching a class.
You're back behind bars.
I know.
Do they pay any attention to you, or are you just one of those privileged outsiders that made a mistake, spent a little time in jail, and you're back out now living the life of Riley?
You know what? Last night, we have a celebration circle at the end of every class. And last night, one of the women said, and it brought me to tears, she said, you know, everybody talks about leaving prison and saying, I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to do this and I'm going to write a book. And she said, Sue Ellen did everything. She did it, and she's come back to us. And she doesn't forget.
You having a good time with your life?
Pat, I wear a bracelet. It's not a hospital bracelet. It's called Find Your Passion. And if you have a passion, you're going to have a happy life. And I know that. I have a motto, been there, done that. Everybody says that. Been there, done that. Now, how can I help? If you're going through the minefield of life, which we all go through, and you miss the minefields or some of them explode, then you look back and you say, okay, I'm going to help you coming through that minefield. And then you have a life with purpose. Okay,
I've got 60 seconds. Here's the challenge. Change the correction system. Now, give us some quick bullet points on how it is it can be done.
Instead of being tough on crime or soft on crime, be smart on crime. Vote for people who are not afraid of how we incarcerate. Cecil Ash, representative from Mesa, says we have got to make a decision to incarcerate the people we're afraid of, not the people we're mad at. We're just incarcerating people we're mad at, and it's costing us a fortune.
So how can we help the prisoners that are in there live better lives and not practice the recidivism that exists throughout the country?
Work for more education in the prisons. We volunteer with Gina's team if you believe in education. But you know what? It's more about society than it is about prison. Find your passion and help your neighborhood. If you help your neighborhood, you may help someone stay out of prison. And we believe in that too. Education is the key to everything, Pat. So I'm saying, yes, we need help with Gina's team. Sure, we can use volunteers and read my book and find your passion.
How do we find the book?
The book is on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or my publisher, inkwellproductions.com.
How do we find Gina's team?
Gina's team you can email me at ginasteam@hotmail.com.
Yeah, because you see, as a result of your appearance, someone may have just said in the last few minutes, my passion is to do exactly that and make a difference in everybody's life in society. Yeah. There are a lot of bad people behind bars.
You know, 93% are going to get out. That's a statistic. Only 7% stay inside. So who do you want in your neighborhood? Somebody that's had no education, no hope, or somebody that's had a chance?
Yeah, and a lot of them continue to be bad because for them, that's the passion that they have.
Well, they've lost hope.
I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Sue Ellen Allen. Boy, I tell you, you know what? Miracles happen on Friday, even with a week like this, because I think you've changed some people's lives. This is Pat McMahon. How about if we change the medical life of your pet? How about if we possibly change your plumber? Especially if you don't have one. All of these things going on at no extra charge on the McMahon Group.